Hi, Gemini. Welcome to Pandora Astrology's monthly horoscope for August of 2022. We are the astrologers of Pandora Astrology. I'm Jamie Kale Miller. I'm in Berkeley, California.
I'm Julia Mijas in San Francisco, California.
Hey, Gemini. This month's horoscope is mostly about your local neighborhood happenings and your home life. If you have questions, we have answers, and you can find them in a natal and transit reading. You'll find a link for that in the text that comes with this video. Here we go. Let's begin with a couple of things that are a little bit more backgroundy, but which might pop up this month for you. One of them is Juno retrograde. Juno takes several months to travel retrograde. She's retrograde from a point in July to a point in October, and that's a really long time, yes, but she's brought us into this relationship retrospection period using the litmus test of Pisces, which is to say, we're asking ourselves, how does this relationship fit into or not my spiritual value system? Do I feel like this person is someone I have a soul connection with? And if so, what are the implications of that? And so Juno retrograde traveling through your 10th house is going to bring these questions up a lot in your workplace and along the arc of your career. If you want to know more about this Juno retrograde in Pisces, please on YouTube check our channel, Pandora Astrology, and look into the July 2022 news playlist where you can find that video about Juno retrograde. It will tell you so much more. The other thing I want to tell you about is Uranus, which is going retrograde this month too. Here it is traveling along through your 12th house. It's kind of disrupting things that maybe you would rather remained hidden or mysterious or under the surface. And so it wouldn't be surprising if stuff came up that was previously unconscious. And also that you get a kind of a reframing, a kind of a new perspective out of it. So that could have some really interesting implications. Look for that sort of experience around August 24th. Hey, Julia, what's up with Mercury, Venus, and Mars for the Geminis of the world?
Yes, well, hi there, Gemini, indeed. Let's start with Mercury, your ruling planet, the planet of mentation, the planet that represents how you communicate to others. And Mercury is very important to keep track of because he shows us where our mind is every month, what we're most thinking about. So Mercury starts the month in your 3rd house. He's only there for a few days at the beginning of the month and mainly spent his time in the 3rd last month. So you should totally check out our last month's video if you want to hear about that transit in a little bit more depth. But Mercury in the 3rd tends to be a time of just increased communication. If you're a writer, whether it's for school or your professional life or your personal life, you could find that those no writer blocks are happening and that words are just flowing very easily. Then by the 3rd or 4th, Mercury jumps into your 4th house. Now the 4th house, it represents your family and it represents your physical home as well. And the 4th house also represents our deep past, you know, what happened to us many years ago, for example. So with Mercury in the 4th house, you might be hearing more from your parents, you know, try to respond to their texts if you are, you know, and Mercury in the 4th house might be a time where you're really preoccupied in thinking about your housing situation. Maybe you're planning and strategizing a move. Maybe you're planning and strategizing something within your domestic life, you know, a reshuffling, a way to expand, other things that you can do at home. And since the 4th house also rules the past, you know, your mind could be preoccupied with something that happened a long time ago that you're still kind of thinking about now and how it affects the present. Then Venus, the planet of art, beauty, and relationships, begins the month in your 2nd house. This is a very sensual house. It represents money. It represents all the stuff you own, all of your beloved things. So Venus in the 2nd house can be a lucky period with money. Maybe you get a little bit more money at work or more money from your business. Venus in the second house is also a time where you really want to indulge yourself. You know, this house is ruled by Taurus, the most indulgent sign. So you might just want to be like getting a massage, or just kind of you're focused on eating out. Venus in the second can also be a wonderful time to go shopping, acquire things that give you lasting pleasure. Then on August 11th, Venus moves into your third house. This is the house that represents your siblings, your neighbors, your neighborhood, also writing and communication. So Venus in the third, wonderful time for getting along well with your brothers, sisters. Cousins are also ruled by this house too. You also might be finding your neighbors are more neighborly with you. You know, you could be really appreciating your local surroundings, your neighborhood, your community where you live. Maybe there's some events going on, a farmer's market, an outdoor theater thing, but you could really just be finding the most pleasure from your local surroundings. It's a great time for also taking a weekend trip. You know, the third house represents short journeys. So I'd say anywhere you can get to in a day in a car versus taking a plane. And if you are in a writing mode, you know, Mercury just left this house very early in the month, but Venus is in it too for the first 11 days. You know, you could get so much good writing done too. Or if you do anything where you use your voice, you have a podcast, you do media, also a wonderful time for it. Then Mars, the planet of action and activity, starts the month in your 12th house. He's going to be there for 20 days. So, you know, spent a lot of last month there too, and a good chunk of this month in there. Now, the 12th house is a little bit of a challenging place. It's a very diffuse house, and it's a house that can represent your subconscious, you know, the part of your mind that you're not always consciously aware of, like your dream states. And the 12th house is also a house of seclusion. So Mars in the 12th house is a challenging time for standing up for yourself. You know, if someone slights you or says something that really annoys you, you know, you're not going to be very direct with them. It's going to be a little bit hard to assert yourself. And you might be a little bit more inclined to kind of do indirect actions, or perhaps be a bit more passive aggressive with Mars in the 12th house. You could also get really annoyed and angry out of nowhere. You know, something that shouldn't have bothered you at the time didn't bother you, you know, some days later might all of a sudden get your ire up. But Mars in the 12th house can be a wonderful time for getting yourself involved and really feeling a lot of drive towards being of service to other people. You know, maybe all those little things that you could do, whether that's helping out an old lady in your neighborhood, or doing some work at your local church, or just being of service to others in some way, can be really wonderful for that. It's also a great time period, especially if you do anything that's both physical and spiritual. So Tai Chi, breath work, even sitting in meditation. If you do that for an hour, it's actually really physically hard. You know, get physical with your spiritual path, and that's a wonderful use of this transit. Then after August 20th, Mars goes into your first. So then you're going to have no problem standing up for yourself. Whereas earlier in the month, it was harder to be assertive. Now it's like the cards are on the table and you're ready to go. Mars in the first house is a high energy time for people. It's really a great time for starting a workout routine, getting really, really physical, and asserting yourself is a good thing, but you can also make mountains out of molehills with this transit too, and get a little too feisty with it. Good thing Venus will be in your third house a lot of the time. So that will give you a little bit more diplomacy with your words. But yes, no, just, you know, it's good to assert yourself, but once you've done it, you know, you don't need to go over the top with it either.
Don't be the hammer looking for a nail.
Yes.
Well, I want to go back to the full moon date, August 11, actually. And here we see the moon is in the 9th house, hanging out with Saturn, opposite the sun here in the 3rd house, and that also they square that irascible Uranus in the 12th. Now, this is an axis of ideas, small ideas and big ideas. The sun is occupying the 3rd house, which is the realm of facts and data and information. Not to say that all facts are factual, because they aren't. You can lie with statistics, famously. But it's always good to play them off against what you believe, right? And so that's what this moon does. We have beliefs over here in the ninth house, also the big picture view. And Saturn is here saying that you're engaged in a couple-year journey to arrive at a bigger understanding, to do the work necessary to arrive at a bigger, more comprehensive understanding. And so there's a bit of an authoritative or perhaps even an authoritarian feel to this placement of Saturn, and it squares Uranus, which would like to bring in a note of rebellion and sort of upset the apple cart. So, I mean, to just really put it all in one sentence, there is potential for a lot of argument during this particular full moon, and that it might involve a rebellious desire to break down other people's ideas, or an entrenched defense of your own. Good thing that moons are fleeting. Their influence doesn't tend to last very long, unless they're eclipses, which this is not an eclipse. So the next thing of interest that happens is that the sun travels along through the rest of Leo, finishes out Leo, and moves on into your fourth house, Virgo. And whenever the sun moves into a new arena, it's a good idea to bring the sunlight of your high quality attention there so that you can spread that around and things can grow and thrive off of that sunlight. So as the sun moves into your fourth house, it brings you into these themes of home and family, domestic life, heritage, and roots, putting your attention on your home itself, on family members, on how to have your nest be optimal for you and family members. And this can be family members that you live with, or it can be those at a distance. And this can also even signal a good time to pay attention to your heritage itself. Now, the sun will only be in the fourth house for about a month, so it's not like you need to delve very deep with this, like, go ahead and do 23andMe if you were going to do it anyway. But this isn't really like a big investigation or anything. So, however, after the sun has been in this house for a little while, we have the new moon on August 27th here in Virgo, and it squares Mars. And when the new moon in Virgo happens in your fourth house, you might find yourself wanting to clear away some old stuff and make a fresh start by organizing in your home. And that might feel really good. And you might find yourself getting pretty absorbed in it, except that this irritable little Mars forming a square to that new moon does bring in a quality of distractibility. So you might find yourself like running around and being like, should I go to the container store now, or should I clean out that drawer over there? And so if you do any house projects around the time of this new moon, I would suggest that you aim to have it all cleaned up by the end of the day, and not to leave things lying around, because there is just so much distractibility wrapped up with this moon. Well, Gemini, that's the stuff we have for you. And you can always find out about the moons and more about what they mean and how to handle them on our monthly forecast page, where the moons of the month will always be found. And if you like the horoscope for your sun sign, you should definitely check out the horoscope for your rising sign, and vice versa. Those will be found in the horoscope tabs on our website, pandoraastrology.com. And if you are interested to have a reading, that natal and transit reading that I was speaking of, then check out the readings tab, where you can find Julia and me and actually get into our schedules. And until next time, we'll see you around the cosmos. Bye.
Bye-bye.